Rejected by her own kind, the alien queen found love with a human. The stars stretched endlessly across the black sky, each one a tiny spark in the vast emptiness of space. Among them, a lone starship drifted silently, its sleek hull glinting faintly in the distant light of a nearby nebula. Inside, the alien queen sat in her command chair, her tall form wrapped in flowing robes that shimmered with colors impossible for human eyes to name. Her eyes, a deep shade of violet, scanned the controls with mechanical precision, but her mind was elsewhere. For centuries, she had ruled her people with wisdom and care. Her species valued strength, loyalty, and tradition, and she had worked tirelessly to uphold those ideals while also encouraging progress. Yet now, she was alone. Her council had declared her unfit to rule, calling her ideas dangerous and weak. The queen had been rejected not because of her actions, but because she dared to think differently. The sting of betrayal ran deep, and she felt the cold weight of exile pressing down on her like the vacuum of space itself. Her ship drifted closer to a small, blue-green planet. It was unremarkable by galactic standards, a world teeming with life but lacking the advanced technology and architecture that her people valued. Still, it promised anonymity, a place where she could hide and heal without the constant threat of pursuit. She had always believed that strength came from intelligence and empathy, not fear and force, and perhaps here, among a species she had never truly studied, she could find solace. As she prepared to enter the planet's atmosphere, she observed the humans below. They were small, fragile creatures, yet they moved with determination. Cities dotted the land, and tiny lights blinked across the surface like fireflies in the dark. From her vantage point, she could see their struggles, the way they worked together to survive, how they built their homes against the elements, and the way they laughed and cried without shame. Something about their resilience stirred a long-forgotten curiosity within her. The Queen's ship touched down in a quiet forest, far from human settlements. She stepped out, her feet silent on the soft earth. The air was heavy with the scent of pine and rain, a welcome contrast to the recycled atmosphere of her ship. For the first time in years, she felt the luxury of freedom, free from expectation, free from judgment. Yet even here, she could not shake the loneliness. She was the last of her kind to walk this path willingly, and the thought of facing the unknown without allies was daunting. She wandered through the trees, observing small creatures scurrying beneath the foliage and listening to the calls of birds. It was a world alive with simplicity and chaos, both of which fascinated her. Her people had long ago perfected order, creating societies without unpredictability, without error. Yet here, imperfection thrived. The Queen found herself smiling at a group of children playing by a stream, their laughter echoing in the forest. She felt a pang of longing for connection, something beyond the rigid protocols of her past life. As night fell, she activated her ship's cloaking system and observed a nearby human settlement from a distance. Humans moved about their routines, oblivious to the alien presence above. She noticed how they struggled with challenges that her species could have solved in moments, yet they persisted. They argued, they helped one another, and they celebrated small victories with joy that seemed foreign to her. Despite their fragility, they possessed a quiet strength, a kind of courage that required no weapons or armor. Her attention was drawn to a young engineer repairing a damaged solar panel on the outskirts of the settlement. The human worked with careful precision, wiping sweat from his brow, adjusting wires and circuits with a steady hand. The Queen watched, intrigued by the ingenuity and determination displayed in these simple actions. There was no grandeur in this work, no display of power, yet it carried its own dignity. She felt an unexpected warmth in her chest, a reminder that connection and admiration could exist even across the divide of species. Days passed, and the Queen remained hidden, learning the patterns of the humans around her. She observed how they celebrated harvests, how they shared stories around small fires, and how they comforted one another in times of trouble. One evening, a sudden storm swept across the settlement. Trees bent under the force of the wind, and rivers swelled dangerously. From her vantage point, the Queen saw the humans struggling to protect their homes and crops. Without thinking, she activated her ship's environmental stabilizers, redirecting excess rainfall away from the settlement. The humans looked on in awe as the storm seemed to lose its fury, the water flowing harmlessly into empty valleys. Murmurs spread through the settlement about a guardian spirit, or a being from the skies, though none could explain what they had witnessed. The queen remained unseen, satisfied by the knowledge that she had helped without revealing herself. It was a small act, but it brought her a sense of purpose she had not felt since her exile began. Curiosity eventually got the better of her. She ventured closer to the settlement, taking care to remain hidden while observing the humans in more detail. Their world was imperfect, chaotic, and yet it was alive with possibility. She studied their technology, their methods, and their community. She saw creativity in action, improvisation in the face of challenges, and a willingness to help one another that transcended rank or status. It reminded her that intelligence alone did not define a species, character did. One night, while exploring the outskirts of the settlement, she noticed the same young engineer from before struggling to fix a malfunctioning water pump. The queen decided to approach, stepping out from the shadows. The human froze, eyes wide with shock, staring at the tall, regal figure before him. She smiled softly, raising her hands to show no threat. "I am not here to harm you," she said, her voice melodic and calm. "I only wish to assist." The human hesitated, then nodded cautiously. Together, they worked on the pump, the queen's advanced knowledge guiding the human's hands. He was amazed by her precision and understanding, and she found herself impressed by his adaptability and eagerness to learn. They communicated without fear, a silent acknowledgement that trust could be built even between beings from entirely different worlds. As the sun rose over the settlement, painting the sky with streaks of gold and pink, the pump began to function smoothly. The human looked at her, eyes filled with curiosity and wonder. "Who or what are you?" he asked, still unsure how to phrase the question. "I am far from home," she replied softly, choosing her words carefully, "and I seek only knowledge and understanding." For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the queen felt a connection that was not born from power or command. The human had no expectations of her as a ruler, no preconceived notions of what she should be. He saw her as she was, a being capable of thought, kindness, and curiosity. She felt the beginnings of a bond, fragile but promising, like a new star forming in the void of space. Over the following days, the queen continued to aid the settlement in secret. She repaired damaged equipment, guided them through natural disasters, and taught the young engineer techniques that far exceeded human understanding. Yet she remained cautious, never revealing the full extent of her identity. She feared that her presence might frighten them or bring unwanted attention. Still, the human's trust grew, and with it, a quiet companionship blossomed. One evening, as they watched the stars together from a hill overlooking the settlement, the queen spoke of the worlds she had seen, of civilizations that rose and fell, of lessons learned from centuries of observation. The human listened with rapt attention, asking questions, offering his own insights, and occasionally smiling at her awe for the small wonders of Earth. In that moment, she felt a warmth that had nothing to do with sunlight or energy shields. She felt hope. Hope, she realized, was a powerful thing. It could grow in the hearts of the smallest creatures and in the most isolated corners of the universe. It could survive exile, betrayal, and solitude. And perhaps, if nurtured, it could even bring the lonely together across impossible distances. As the queen gazed at the night sky, she knew her journey was only beginning. She had escaped her people, but now she faced a new challenge. Understanding a world completely different from her own, building trust with a species she had never known, and finding a place where she could belong. And somewhere, hidden among the stars, she sensed that her life would never be the same again. The human beside her, still staring at the constellations, felt a quiet admiration for the mysterious figure he had come to know. He did not understand the full truth of her origin, nor did he need to. He only knew that she was extraordinary and that together they might discover something beyond their imagination. A friendship, perhaps more, that could change both their worlds forever. The night was silent, save for the rustle of leaves and the distant sounds of the settlement settling for sleep. Yet in that silence, two beings from different worlds had begun a journey together. One, a queen rejected by her own kind. The other, a human eager to explore the stars. And though neither fully understood what lay ahead, both felt the quiet thrill of possibility, the first spark of hope in a story yet to be written. Above them, the stars continued to shine, indifferent yet constant, as if the universe itself were watching and waiting for the story to unfold. The days passed quietly at the human settlement, but for the alien queen, each day was a lesson in patience and observation. She had spent her first weeks hidden, watching the humans from a distance, learning their ways. Now, with the young engineer's trust earned, she began to move more freely among them, still careful not to reveal her full identity, yet eager to understand their world in detail. The human, whose name was Eli, was fascinated by her knowledge. Every day he approached her with questions, sometimes about technology, sometimes about the stars, and sometimes about things he did not have words for, feelings, dreams, hope. The queen found herself amused by his curiosity, his unshakable determination to understand a universe far larger than the one he had ever known. And she felt a quiet joy in teaching him, guiding his hands and mind with patience that centuries had honed. One morning, the queen and Eli stood by a small stream, sunlight reflecting off the moving water. Eli had been trying to repair a water pump for the settlement, a project that had frustrated him for days. The queen knelt beside him, showing him subtle adjustments, her long fingers moving with elegance and precision. "You see," she said, "sometimes it is not about strength or force. The right alignment, the correct timing, and attention to detail can solve problems that appear impossible." Eli watched her carefully, adjusting the pump as she had shown him. The water began to flow smoothly, filling the pipes without issue. A wide smile spread across his face. "I can't believe it," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "It works, you're amazing." The queen's lips curved in a small smile. Compliments were rare in her former life. Respect was measured in obedience and fear, not in admiration. Yet here it felt genuine. She felt a warmth in her chest, a sense of belonging that she had not experienced in centuries. As they worked together, the queen noticed subtle things about humans: their laughter, their way of helping each other without expectation, their resilience in the face of small failures. It fascinated her. Her species prized perfection and order, but these humans thrived in imperfection. They learned from mistakes, celebrated small victories, and moved forward even when odds seemed against them. There was a beauty in their chaos, a kind of strength that could not be measured in power or status. That evening, the queen and Eli climbed a small hill near the settlement. From there, they could see the valley below, the houses and fields bathed in the soft light of dusk. The wind whispered through the grass, carrying the faint scent of flowers and the cooling air after a long day. For a moment, they were silent, simply watching the humans as they moved about their evening routines. "I've never seen anything like this," Eli said quietly. "The stars, the planets, and now all of this, it's incredible." The queen studied him, noting the way his eyes reflected both awe and determination. "There is much to learn," she said, "and yet knowledge alone is not enough. Understanding comes from experience, from empathy, and from the willingness to act, even when the outcome is uncertain." Eli nodded. "I think I understand." The queen smiled softly, pleased with his progress. Yet even as she enjoyed these moments, she knew danger could come at any time. Her people had not given up searching for her. The rejection had been public, the shame deliberate. They would see her escape as a challenge, and they would not rest until they had reclaimed what they believed was theirs. She kept this concern to herself, not wanting to worry Eli unnecessarily. But she began to plan subtly, teaching him ways to anticipate problems, methods of observation, and small tricks to improve their defenses without weapons or confrontation. She wanted him to be prepared, not because she expected violence, but because knowledge and foresight were the true forms of strength. One afternoon, while exploring the outskirts of the settlement, they discovered an abandoned structure hidden among the trees. The building had once been a research station, its walls cracked and overgrown with vines. Inside, remnants of old machinery and data consoles lay dormant, waiting to be explored. Eli's eyes lit up with excitement, and the queen felt a thrill at his enthusiasm. "This could be amazing," Eli said, brushing dust off a control panel. "There might be records, tools, maybe even technology that could help the settlement." The queen nodded. "Knowledge is everywhere," she said. "We must be careful and patient. Understanding comes before action." Together, they began to examine the station, cataloging what remained. The queen guided Eli through complex mechanisms, showing him how to safely power up systems and access data that humans had never seen before. Hours passed unnoticed, the two working side by side in harmony, their bond growing stronger with every shared discovery. As they explored, the queen began to share small stories of her home world, its skies, its cities, its people. She did not speak of her throne or her exile in detail, fearing that the weight of her past might overwhelm him. Instead, she focused on the wonder and beauty of her world, on lessons learned and wisdom gained. Eli listened with rapt attention, asking questions and imagining a universe far beyond his experience. "You really have seen so much," Eli said finally, his voice tinged with awe. "I can't even imagine it." The queen tilted her head slightly, studying him. "Experience is not measured in distance traveled or power held. It is measured in what you learn, what you share, and how you grow." The two worked late into the night, guided by the soft glow of the queen's ship hovering silently above the trees. She had kept it cloaked, a silent guardian in the sky, and Eli marveled at the technology that seemed almost magical. Though he did not understand its full capabilities, he trusted the queen completely. He knew she meant no harm, and that trust was reciprocated in ways deeper than words could express. Days turned into weeks. The queen and Eli established routines, repairing and improving settlement technology, exploring nearby forests and rivers, and learning from each other in ways that were both practical and profound. Eli showed her the beauty of human creativity, art, music, storytelling, while the queen demonstrated the elegance of alien logic, science, and understanding of the universe. Together, they were a bridge between two very different worlds, yet the queen remained cautious. She knew that curiosity was not enough to protect them. One evening, while they were repairing a communication tower, she sensed a distant signal, a scanning probe from her own people. They were close, searching for her, unaware of the distance she had put between them. Her chest tightened at the thought, but she kept her composure. "We may not be alone for long," she said quietly to Eli. "I do not anticipate harm, but we must remain vigilant." Eli frowned. "Do you mean your people?" She nodded. "Yes, they will not give up easily." "But fear is not the answer. Knowledge, preparation, and cleverness are." Eli considered this, then smiled. "I think we can handle it." The queen's lips curved slightly in approval. Despite the potential danger, she felt a surge of confidence. Together, they could face challenges that neither could manage alone. There was a strength in their partnership, born of trust and shared purpose, that surpassed fear or threats. Over time, their work began to draw attention. Other humans noticed the subtle improvements in the settlement: better water systems, stronger structures, safer farming methods. Rumors spread of a guardian from the stars, a mysterious presence watching over them. Eli never revealed the queen's identity, yet he found ways to credit the guidance she provided. The humans admired the ingenuity, and some even speculated about a benevolent being who had chosen to protect them. One evening, after a long day of exploration and repairs, Eli and the queen sat together under the stars. The night was calm, the air cool and fragrant. Crickets chirped softly, and distant lights twinkled in the valley below. Eli looked at the queen, curiosity and admiration shining in his eyes. "Do you ever miss your world?" he asked. The queen paused, considering her answer. "Sometimes," she said slowly, "but this world, it has its own wonders. And I have found companionship here, something I did not expect to find again. That is a gift I cannot ignore." Eli smiled softly. "I'm glad you're here. I've learned so much from you, more than I could have imagined, and I think I'm starting to see the stars differently now." The queen regarded him silently, feeling the bond between them deepen. It was not just admiration or curiosity. It was connection, understanding, and respect. She had been rejected by her own kind, cast out for daring to think differently. Yet here she had found someone who valued her for who she was, not for the titles she held or the power she commanded. As the night deepened, they spoke of dreams and possibilities, of the vast universe waiting beyond their skies. The queen shared insights into navigation between stars, how to read celestial patterns, and how to anticipate challenges in space travel. Eli shared his human perspective, the ingenuity that arose from limitations, and the courage that came from working together as a community. Through these conversations, the queen realized that her exile had not been the end, but a beginning. She had escaped her past not to run from it, but to find a place where she could belong. And in Eli, she had discovered a kindred spirit, a companion willing to explore, learn, and grow alongside her. As dawn approached, painting the sky with soft shades of pink and gold, they sat quietly watching the humans below prepare for the day. The queen felt a sense of peace, a fragile but growing hope. She knew that challenges lay ahead, that her people might return, and that the universe held dangers she could not yet foresee. But for now, in this quiet valley under the endless sky, she had found trust, friendship, and the first glimmer of something more. And for the first time since her exile began, she allowed herself to believe that she was not truly alone. The alien queen and Eli had settled into a rhythm. Each day brought new discoveries, new challenges, and a growing sense of partnership between two beings from completely different worlds. Yet, as much as the queen enjoyed the quiet life on Earth, she could not ignore the distant signals she had detected days before. Her people were searching for her. The thought weighed on her, but she refused to let it dominate her actions. Knowledge and cleverness were more powerful than fear, and she intended to prove it. One morning, as the sun rose over the forest, she approached Eli with a proposal. "I believe it is time," she said, her violet eyes glinting with determination, "that we explore beyond this world. There is much to learn, and you are ready." Eli's eyes widened. "Beyond Earth, you mean space?" The queen nodded. "Yes. There are nearby systems, abandoned stations, and planets we can reach. We will learn, prepare, and understand the universe around us. But we must move cautiously. My people may be close, observing." Excitement and a hint of nervousness lit up Eli's face. "I've dreamed of exploring the stars, but I never imagined it would actually happen. Will we be safe?" The queen's expression softened. "Safety is relative, Eli, but knowledge, preparation, and trust will guide us. Together we can navigate challenges without harm." They prepared for their journey with care. The queen revealed her ship, small but elegant, with controls designed for beings who could perceive more dimensions than humans. She guided Eli through the instruments, showing him how to monitor energy flows, read navigational charts, and interpret signals from distant stars. He absorbed each lesson eagerly, his hands moving confidently under her supervision. As the ship lifted off, leaving Earth's atmosphere behind, Eli felt a mixture of awe and wonder. The curvature of the planet stretched beneath them, oceans shimmering, clouds swirling in patterns too complex for him to describe. Stars surrounded them in every direction, distant suns blazing in colors he had never imagined. He turned to the queen, eyes wide with wonder. "This is incredible," he whispered. I can't even," the queen smiled. "It is only the beginning, Eli. The universe is vast, full of knowledge and surprises, and there are lessons here that your species has yet to discover." Their first stop was an abandoned space station orbiting a quiet, uninhabited planet. The station had been used centuries ago by a civilization that had long since vanished. Its walls were worn and the systems partially dormant, but the technology remained advanced, waiting for someone curious enough to explore it. Eli and the queen moved carefully through the corridors, scanning consoles and repairing critical systems. The queen guided him with patience, showing him how to interact with alien interfaces without causing damage. They discovered records of distant planets, star charts, and schematics for advanced energy systems. Eli was fascinated, but the queen reminded him gently that knowledge was most powerful when applied wisely. "This is not just about learning," she said. "It is about understanding. Technology without thought can be dangerous. Wisdom ensures it benefits rather than harms." Eli nodded. "I understand. It's like what you taught me back on Earth, thinking ahead, being careful, paying attention to details." The queen's eyes softened. "Exactly. You are learning quickly. That is why you are valuable, Eli. Your perspective is different, but it is necessary. Sometimes being human is an advantage." Their days at the station were filled with work and discovery. They mapped star systems, recorded environmental data, and repaired old technology. Eli's excitement never waned, and the queen found herself enjoying his energy and optimism. It reminded her that there was joy in learning, and companionship could be found in shared purpose. One evening, as they rested in a quiet observation chamber, Eli asked, "Have your people always been so harsh?" The queen considered him carefully. "Not all were. My species values order, loyalty, and strength above all. Those traits can be admirable, but they can also blind one to other possibilities. I was rejected because I believed in cooperation and empathy, qualities they saw as weakness. That is why I am here, seeking a different path." Eli looked at her with respect. "I'm glad you found your path here, and I'm glad I get to help." The queen nodded, feeling a quiet bond strengthening between them. She had not expected to feel this connection with a human, but she realized that his courage, ingenuity, and kindness were rare strengths. Their work at the station revealed something unexpected. A set of star maps indicated that one of her people's patrols might be moving through nearby systems. The Queen's expression grew serious as she studied the data. "They are closer than I thought," she said. "We must be careful, but confrontation is not necessary. Observation, intelligence, and clever strategy will protect us." Eli frowned. "What do we do if they find us?" The Queen smiled faintly. "We adapt, Eli. That is what humans do so well. Your kind is resourceful, persistent, and brave in ways that my people cannot always understand. Together, we will avoid conflict while staying safe." The next few days were a careful balance of exploration and caution. The Queen and Eli visited nearby planets, observing their ecosystems and scanning for resources that might be useful for the human settlement. They cataloged flora and fauna and even discovered signs of long-extinct civilizations. Eli marveled at the diversity of life, comparing it to Earth's familiar creatures, while the Queen taught him how to analyze patterns, understand ecosystems, and anticipate changes in planetary environments. During one excursion to a lush, forested planet, they stumbled upon a valley filled with bioluminescent plants. The light was soft, pulsing gently like the heartbeat of the world itself. Eli gasped in wonder, and the Queen felt a rare sense of shared amazement. "This is beautiful," Eli whispered. "I never imagined anything like this could exist." The Queen nodded. "There is beauty everywhere if one knows how to see it. Life has a way of surprising those who look carefully." They spent hours exploring the valley, documenting the plants and the gentle, glowing creatures that flitted among the trees. The experience was peaceful, a rare moment of quiet in the midst of uncertainty. Yet the Queen remained vigilant, keeping watch for signs of her people. As they prepared to leave, the ship detected movement in the nearby system, a small probe scanning the planet. The Queen's expression hardened slightly, but she did not panic. "They are observing," she said, "but they cannot interfere if we remain clever." Eli's eyes widened. "What do we do?" The Queen guided him through the ship's controls. "We will redirect the probe, making it appear that the planet is uninhabited. Attention and subtlety are more effective than confrontation." Together, they executed the plan. Eli followed her instructions carefully, learning how to manipulate the probe's sensors, redirecting its data stream, and masking their presence. When the task was complete, the probe moved on, unaware of the life that thrived below. "You did well," the Queen said, her voice calm but filled with quiet pride. "You are learning more quickly than I expected. Humans have an ingenuity that cannot be replicated by machines or protocol. That is your strength." Eli smiled. "Thanks. I couldn't have done it without you." The Queen looked at him, realizing that this partnership had grown deeper than she had anticipated. It was not merely about teaching or exploration. It was about trust, respect, and the willingness to face challenges together. In Eli, she had found a companion who valued knowledge, kindness, and courage over power or rank. Their journey continued, exploring asteroid fields, small moons, and distant planets. Each discovery strengthened their bond and expanded Eli's understanding of the universe. The Queen marveled at the human capacity for wonder, for learning, and for hope. And she knew that this hope was what made him remarkable, a quality her people could not always appreciate. One evening, while charting a newly discovered system, the Queen noticed a faint signal in the distance. It was not hostile, but it was familiar. A patrol from her species was nearby, scanning for her signature. She studied the data carefully, then turned to Eli. "They are close," she said, "but there is no need for fear. We will remain unseen. Observation and strategy will ensure our safety." Eli nodded, understanding the importance of subtlety. "We'll stay ahead," he said confidently. The Queen felt a rare sense of admiration for him. Despite the uncertainty, he remained calm, focused, and willing to learn. She realized that strength was not measured in power or control, but in courage, intelligence, and the ability to act with wisdom. In that moment, she understood that humanity, in all its imperfection, had qualities her people could never fully comprehend. As the stars moved past their viewport, the Queen and Eli sat together, silent but connected. The universe stretched endlessly before them, full of challenges, wonders, and possibilities. Yet for the first time since her exile began, the Queen felt that she was not alone. She had found a companion, a partner, and perhaps something even more profound, a connection that transcended worlds, species, and expectations. In the quiet of the ship, they made plans for the next day. They would continue exploring, documenting, and learning. They would remain vigilant, always aware of the distant patrols searching for the Queen. But most importantly, they would face the universe together, combining human ingenuity with alien wisdom, creating a partnership that was rare, unexpected, and powerful. As Eli drifted to sleep in the small quarters of the ship, the Queen remained awake, gazing at the stars. Her thoughts were no longer filled with exile or rejection. Instead, they were filled with curiosity, hope, and the quiet joy of companionship. She had escaped her people's control, but she had gained something far more valuable, a human who saw her not as a queen, but as a being worthy of trust, respect, and connection. And as the stars continued to shine, indifferent yet constant, the Queen realized that the journey ahead, though filled with unknowns, was one she would not face alone. Together, she and Eli would explore the universe, discover its secrets, and prove that courage, intelligence, and empathy could overcome any challenge. The night stretched on, vast and silent, but within the ship, two beings from different worlds had found a rhythm, a bond, and a shared purpose. The Queen, once rejected by her own kind, had found trust and friendship in the most unexpected of places. And Eli, a human of simple beginnings, had discovered a universe beyond his imagination, and a companion whose wisdom and courage would guide him through the stars. In that moment, amid the endless expanse of space, they both understood something essential. Strength was not in domination, nor in fear, nor in power. Strength was in connection, knowledge, and the courage to face the unknown together. And with that understanding, they were ready for whatever challenges awaited them, their bond stronger than the distance between stars. The alien Queen and Eli had grown confident in their routines of exploration, careful observation, and shared discovery. Each day, the stars revealed new wonders, and each new planet or abandoned station became a classroom for learning, cooperation, and creativity. Yet the distant signals of her people continued to hum faintly in the background, a quiet reminder that her past was never far away. The day began like any other, with the ship gliding through the outer rim of a star system that held 3 small planets, each with its own atmosphere and orbit. Eli manned the scanners, his eyes moving quickly across the displays as he adjusted settings to detect life signs, energy emissions, and topography. The Queen sat beside him, her fingers lightly brushing the controls, offering guidance and subtle corrections when needed. "This planet," the Queen said, pointing to the middle one, "has potential. Its atmosphere is stable, water exists in abundance, and the terrain suggests intelligent design by nature itself. There may be resources we can use or insights into ecosystems we have never encountered." Eli leaned closer, intrigued. "So we land?" "Yes," she replied, "but cautiously. Observation comes first. Approach slowly, remain hidden, and study before interacting." As the ship descended into the planet's upper atmosphere, Eli marveled at the view. Forests stretched endlessly across valleys, rivers twisted like silver ribbons, and mountain peaks pierced the clouds. It was breathtaking, but the Queen reminded him to focus. "Beauty is not the same as understanding," she said. "We must learn what is useful and what may be dangerous without disturbing the natural balance." Once they landed in a clearing on a gently sloping hillside, they stepped out of the ship. The air was warm and fragrant, filled with the scent of flowering plants and the distant tang of freshwater. Birds with shimmering feathers darted across the sky, and small, curious creatures peeked from behind the trees. Eli's eyes sparkled with excitement, while the Queen's mind catalogued every detail: the plant life, the soil composition, even the way the wind moved through the forest canopy. They spent the morning exploring the area. Eli collected samples of minerals and plant material, and the Queen explained how each element could be useful for technology or understanding planetary ecology. They worked in perfect coordination, Eli's human intuition complementing the Queen's centuries of experience. By midday, they reached a ridge overlooking a large valley. From this vantage point, the Queen's sensors picked up something unusual. A faint signal, almost imperceptible, moved across the horizon. She recognized it immediately, an observation probe from her own species. "They are closer than I expected," she said quietly, her voice calm but tinged with concern. "We must act carefully. Eli's brow furrowed. What do we do? Can't we just hide? The queen shook her head. Not hiding alone, we must redirect their attention. Using their own protocols against them is more effective than avoidance. I will guide you, and you will follow precisely. Together, they returned to the ship. The queen explained the intricate controls that would allow Eli to manipulate the probe's data streams remotely, masking their presence while creating the illusion that the planet was uninhabited. Eli listened carefully, absorbing the steps in detail. The task required patience, attention, and the subtle application of logic and ingenuity, a perfect match for human creativity. Hours passed as they worked. Eli's hands moved quickly but methodically, and the queen provided guidance only when necessary. Slowly, the probe's sensors were redirected, scanning false coordinates, missing the valley entirely. When the final adjustments were made, the queen allowed herself a small smile. "You have done well," she said. "Your understanding of strategy and patience is remarkable. Humans possess ingenuity that my species often underestimates." Eli grinned. "Thanks, I couldn't have done it without your guidance." The queen studied him, noting the combination of courage and intelligence that shone through his actions. It was this combination, she realized, that made humans uniquely capable of innovation. Their minds were adaptable, resourceful, and creative in ways her species had long forgotten. The next morning, they began exploring the valley itself. The terrain was complex, filled with winding rivers, thick forests, and towering rock formations. As they moved through the area, the queen instructed Eli in techniques for scanning plant life, assessing energy potential, and understanding environmental balance. Each lesson was practical, grounded in science, yet also carried the deeper message of harmony with the world around them. At midday, Eli paused to examine a small grove of bioluminescent plants. Their soft, pulsing glow was mesmerizing. He turned to the queen. "Do you think we can learn something from these?" The queen knelt beside him, gently touching one of the plants. "Nature often holds lessons for those willing to observe. Even small organisms have mechanisms that can inspire technology or understanding. Attention to detail is everything." As they worked, the distant signal returned, this time stronger. The queen's sensors confirmed her suspicion. A larger patrol vessel from her people was moving through the system, scanning for anomalies. She remained calm, but her mind raced with possibilities. "We will need to move carefully," she said, "but confrontation is unnecessary. Observation, adaptation, and intelligence will ensure our safety." Eli nodded, his mind alive with anticipation. "We can do this. We've handled the probe, we can handle them too." The queen smiled faintly. "Yes, together we are stronger than you realize." Over the next several days, they continued exploring, always aware of the patrol's movements. They discovered ancient ruins, abandoned research facilities, and evidence of intelligent species long extinct. Each discovery was cataloged carefully, adding to their growing understanding of the universe. Eli's excitement never waned, and the queen found herself appreciating his optimism and ability to see possibilities where she might have seen obstacles. One evening, as they rested atop a hill overlooking a sparkling lake, the queen sensed the patrol moving closer than ever. She turned to Eli. "We must act soon. They will investigate this planet if they detect our presence, but there is a way to ensure they leave without harm." Eli's eyes widened. "What do we do?" The queen explained her plan. Using the ship's sensors and environmental control systems, they could create a pattern of natural anomalies, a series of harmless but convincing signals that would mislead the patrol into believing the planet was uninhabited and unstable. Eli followed her instructions carefully, adjusting energy fields, redirecting signals, and manipulating subtle environmental factors to create the illusion of an inhospitable world. By nightfall, their work was complete. The patrol approached the system but detected only the simulated anomalies. Confused, it moved on without further investigation. Eli let out a breath he hadn't realized he had been holding, and the queen allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction. "You did well," she said. "Your ingenuity and willingness to act with precision ensured our safety. My species would not have succeeded in this without careful observation, planning, and adaptability." Eli beamed. "I couldn't have done it without you. We make a good team." The queen studied him silently for a moment. She had not expected to find companionship like this, nor had she anticipated the depth of trust that had grown between them. Yet it was undeniable. Together, they had faced challenges, solved problems creatively, and avoided conflict entirely. She felt something unfamiliar but welcome. Admiration, not for her title or power, but for his character, his intelligence, and his courage. As they prepared to leave the planet, Eli looked at her. "Do you think they'll come back?" The Queen shook her head. "Perhaps, but we have shown that confrontation is not necessary and that cleverness and preparation are powerful tools. We must continue to observe and learn, but fear will not guide our actions." They traveled through nearby asteroid fields and minor planets, always learning, exploring, and preparing. Eli began to anticipate challenges, suggesting solutions that the Queen had not considered, and she found herself impressed by his creativity and problem-solving skills. She realized that humans, with their unique combination of ingenuity and persistence, were capable of extraordinary things. One afternoon, they discovered a cave system filled with crystalline formations that refracted light in dazzling patterns. Eli's eyes widened with wonder. This is incredible. I've never seen anything like it." The Queen knelt beside him. "Even in simplicity there is complexity. Even in beauty there is logic. Observation and understanding allow one to see both." They spent hours studying the crystals, documenting the formations, and considering how the natural structures could inspire technological designs. Eli's imagination soared as the Queen guided him through analyses of energy reflection, material density, and structural integrity. Their teamwork was seamless, a blend of human creativity and alien knowledge. As the stars rose above the planet that night, they stood together on a ridge, looking out at the vast expanse of space. The distant lights of other worlds shimmered, and the quiet hum of the universe filled their ears. Eli turned to the Queen. "Do you ever miss your people?" he asked quietly. The Queen considered him. "Sometimes," she said softly. "But I have learned that connection is more valuable than titles, and wisdom is stronger than fear. My people judged me for my beliefs, yet here I have found trust, partnership, and understanding. That is worth more than any throne." Eli smiled. "I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad we get to do this together." The Queen felt a warmth in her chest, a sensation she had not felt in centuries. It was not power, not status, but something deeper, a connection built on trust, mutual respect, and shared purpose. She realized that strength was not measured in control or fear, but in collaboration, intelligence, and courage. As they prepared to leave the planet and continue their journey, the Queen felt a renewed sense of purpose. Challenges would come, but she and Eli were ready. Together, they would explore new worlds, uncover mysteries, and prove that courage, knowledge, and empathy could overcome even the most difficult obstacles. And in the quiet moments, under the endless stars, the Queen allowed herself to feel something she had not felt in centuries. Hope. Hope that the universe held possibilities beyond her exile, beyond rejection, and beyond fear. Hope that she had found a companion who would face the unknown with her, and that together they could create something extraordinary, a partnership that transcended worlds, species, and expectations. As the ship lifted off into the blackness of space, Eli looked at the Queen, admiration and curiosity shining in his eyes. "Where to next?" he asked. The Queen's violet eyes sparkled. "Wherever the stars lead us, Eli, wherever the stars lead us." And with that, they disappeared into the cosmos, two beings from different worlds bound by trust, courage, and the quiet thrill of discovery, ready for whatever adventures awaited them among the stars. The stars stretched endlessly before the alien Queen and Eli, a tapestry of light and darkness that promised endless discovery. After weeks of cautious exploration, clever problem-solving, and shared learning, they had grown confident in their abilities and trust in one another. Yet the Queen knew that the past could not be ignored forever. Her people had once sought to control her, and now they remained somewhere in the galaxy, observing, waiting, and judging her choices. But she was no longer the same. She had escaped fear, embraced curiosity, and discovered companionship with a human who was clever, compassionate, and fearless in his own way. Together, they had learned that intelligence, courage, and empathy were stronger than threats or authority. And now the Queen was ready to take the next step, not in conquest or power, but in building a new path, one that neither she nor her people could predict. Their journey took them to a bright, thriving system, filled with planets that glimmered in shades of green, blue, and silver. Eli was at the helm, scanning and navigating with growing confidence. The queen observed him silently, noting the ease with which he managed the ship, the creativity with which he approached problems, and the calm decisiveness in his choices. He had grown so much, and she felt a quiet pride in their partnership. "Do you ever think about your people?" Eli asked suddenly, breaking the comfortable silence. The queen paused, her violet eyes reflecting distant stars. "I do," she said. "They will always be part of my history, but my future is not theirs to decide. I have learned that true strength comes from the choices we make and the companions we trust." Eli nodded thoughtfully. "I think you've shown me something important, too. Humans are not just fragile creatures. We can be clever, persistent, and courageous. Sometimes even more than others who have more power or technology." The queen smiled. "Exactly. You and your kind have qualities that my people have long ignored: creativity, intuition, and the ability to act with empathy. That is why you are so valuable, Eli. You are not just human, you are remarkable." As they approached a small, Earth-like planet, the ship's sensors detected movement in the nearby system. The queen's eyes narrowed slightly. It was a patrol from her species, larger and more sophisticated than any probe they had encountered. This was the first true opportunity for her people to confront her, to test her choices, and perhaps even challenge the bond she had formed with a human. "They have found the system," she said calmly. "But there is no need for panic. We will not fight. We will act with intelligence and foresight. Violence is not necessary." Eli's hands moved quickly across the controls. "What's the plan?" The queen outlined a careful strategy. They would use the terrain and the ship's advanced systems to create illusions, masking their presence while guiding the patrol away from inhabited areas. At the same time, they would communicate, indirectly and subtly, messages of curiosity, cooperation, and non-aggression, demonstrating that she had chosen a different path than what her people expected. Hours passed as they executed the plan. Eli followed her instructions with precision, learning to anticipate signals, adjust environmental readings, and redirect energy patterns to mimic uninhabited conditions. The queen observed him closely, impressed by his creativity, calm focus, and adaptability under pressure. Together, they turned what could have been a tense confrontation into a demonstration of ingenuity and intelligence. When the patrol finally left, scanning data convinced them that the system held no value. The queen allowed herself a quiet sigh of relief. "You did exceptionally well," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Your courage and cleverness ensured our safety without a single act of aggression. My people may not understand it, but intelligence and empathy can be more powerful than fleets or authority." Eli smiled, brushing his hands on his pants. "I couldn't have done it without you. We make a good team." The queen nodded, her mind quietly acknowledging something deeper. This partnership, born of necessity and curiosity, had grown into trust, respect, and perhaps something even stronger. She had been alone for so long, rejected by her own kind, yet here she was, exploring the stars with a human who valued her for who she was, not what she had once commanded. The days that followed were filled with exploration. They mapped planets, documented life forms, and collected knowledge that would benefit both humans and, perhaps someday, other species. Eli's understanding of the universe deepened, and the queen marveled at how quickly he adapted, how intuitive he had become, and how his perspective often revealed solutions she had never considered. One afternoon, they discovered a world covered in crystalline forests. The structures reflected light like mirrors, creating rainbows that danced across the horizon. Eli's eyes widened with wonder. This is incredible. It's like the stars came down to touch the planet." The queen studied the formations carefully, explaining the physics of light refraction and crystal growth, while noting how the structures could inspire future technology. Eli listened intently, taking in every detail, his excitement tempered with careful observation. "This is what I love about exploring with you," he said. "Everywhere we go, there's something new, something I've never imagined, and yet I feel like I can understand it when you explain it." The queen's lips curved into a gentle smile. "Knowledge is a bridge, Eli. It allows us to connect with the universe and with each other. You are learning not just science, but perspective, patience, and understanding. Those are the qualities that make your species remarkable." Night fell and they camped in a natural valley surrounded by towering crystals. The stars above were bright and clear, each one a tiny sun in the infinite darkness. Eli turned to the queen. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" he asked. The Queen considered him. Yes, she said. My people may continue to search for me, but that is no longer my concern. What matters is the path I choose now and the connections I build along the way. I have discovered that strength is not in fear or control. It is in trust, courage, and intelligence. And in this, I am not alone. Eli smiled, feeling the weight and truth of her words. I think I understand. It's not about what you've lost. It's about what you choose to build. The Queen nodded. Exactly. And together, we have built something meaningful. A partnership that neither species could have predicted, but one that is stronger than many would believe possible. As they prepared to sleep, a small signal blinked faintly on the ship's console. The Queen scanned it and found a message, transmitted not as a threat, but as a curiosity. Her people had detected the anomalies and their absence in the system. They had recorded the clever strategies used to avoid detection and the subtle signs of cooperation with a human. The Queen studied the data quietly. They did not understand, but perhaps one day they would. She turned to Eli. They are watching, but not with hostility. Curiosity seems to be guiding them, at least for now. That is enough. Eli grinned. So maybe they'll learn something too. The Queen's smile deepened. Perhaps, but our concern is not their understanding. It is ours, how we live, how we learn, and how we choose to act. The next morning, they set course for a small, vibrant planet in a nearby system. Eli's enthusiasm was infectious as he adjusted the ship's instruments, plotted a course, and anticipated challenges with growing confidence. The Queen observed him, noting how far he had come in such a short time. His courage, creativity, and calm determination had turned what could have been a perilous journey into an adventure of discovery, learning, and trust. When they arrived, the planet was alive with colors and movement. Rivers wound through lush forests, animals moved freely, and the air was filled with the hum of life. The Queen and Eli explored, documenting everything they could, yet they remained aware of their presence. They left no trace, disturbed nothing, and observed carefully, taking lessons from the balance and harmony of the ecosystem. As the day ended, Eli turned to the Queen. You know, I never imagined I'd see so much, learn so much, or be with someone like you. The Queen's eyes softened. Nor did I thought my path would be lonely, filled with regret and exile. Yet here I am, exploring the stars with a being whose courage and curiosity match my own. That is a gift I had not expected. Eli reached out, placing a hand gently on her arm. I'm glad we found each other. I've learned so much from you, and I hope we can keep learning together. The Queen felt warmth that had nothing to do with her ship's environmental controls. She realized, finally and fully, that she had found something more than companionship or partnership. She had found trust, respect, and even love. Not the kind built on titles or status, but the kind that arose naturally from shared purpose, understanding, and courage. The days that followed were filled with joyful exploration. They charted new systems, documented life forms, and shared knowledge between worlds. Their actions inspired both humans and, perhaps someday, alien civilizations. And through it all, their bond deepened, a quiet proof that connection, intelligence, and courage could transcend boundaries and expectations. One evening, as they watched a distant galaxy shimmer in colors beyond imagination, Eli turned to the Queen. Do you think maybe this is just the beginning? The Queen smiled, her violet eyes reflecting the light of distant suns. Yes, Eli, this is only the beginning. Together we can explore, learn, and discover not just the universe but ourselves. Strength is not in power or fear. It is in trust, wisdom, and courage, and in that we are limitless. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, two beings from different worlds, once separated by fear, expectation, and exile, embraced a future full of promise, adventure, and hope. The alien queen, rejected by her own kind, had found a companion, a friend, and a love that transcended species. And Eli, a human who had once only dreamed of the stars, had discovered a universe of possibilities, and a partner who would explore it with him. Together, they set a course for the unknown, hearts and minds aligned, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. The universe was vast, and the journey would be long, but they had learned the most important lesson. That intelligence, empathy, and courage could light the darkest void, and that trust between two beings, no matter how different, was the greatest power of all. As the ship disappeared into the blackness of space, stars glittering like diamonds around them, the Queen and Eli knew that their story was just beginning. They had discovered a new way to live, to explore, and to connect, and in doing so had created something extraordinary, a partnership that could change the universe itself.